Now that school is back in session, that means obviously our student athletes are back on the fields and in the gyms. And for parents, it's so important to know how to keep them safe out there. Teenagers don't always listen to us. That's why this week we're introducing you to health topics really affecting your student athletes. Today, it is one of the least understood conditions affecting athletes. It's sickle cell, and it can be deadly. Joining me now is Dr. Nick Peterkin from Baptist Medical Center to shed some light on this and kind of really explain to us what this is. Good morning to you, Doctor.
Morning,
Thanks for being here. Do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Explain, if you will, for our viewers who aren't familiar, what sickle cell is.
Okay. So sickle cell basically is an inherited disease. It's a genetic condition where the blood cell component called hemoglobin, which carries the oxygen, it's mutated. And so when you've got two mutated genes, that hemoglobin doesn't work so well, and that's what carries the oxygen. So imagine a red blood cell that sort of curves on itself or sickles. It clogs up the arteries, and that causes a lot of problems. Now, it's a very common condition, but what's more common is actually being a carrier for the disease. So you have sickle cell trait, and that's something that actually is as common as 1 in 8 in people of African descent. So it's actually very common.
So sickle cell is something that only affects the African American community. Is that correct or no?
It's actually from people of African descent, Mediterranean, Middle East, India. Those are the most common races that we see it in.
And it precludes people from being able to, student athletes, from if they have it, from participating in sports. But if they carry the trait, not necessarily, how would they know if they carry the trait?
So in the U.S., everyone is screened at birth, and so you should know if you have the actual disease or if you're actually carrying the trait. Like I said, 1 in 8 African Americans carry the trait. Those of Middle Eastern and Mediterranean background may also too. So that's one way that you would know, is just by screening at birth. But a lot of people kind of slipped through the cracks. They didn't know the results, or the physician may not have told them, because with the trait, really, you have no symptoms. It's under those extreme conditions of exertion and dehydration where you may run into some complications.
And that's the key here also, is that there may be students who are watching us or their parents who don't realize that their child has the trait. And given the fact that it's going to be so hot this week, they have to take extra precautions. What should those be?
So the biggest thing is actually hydration. Hydration is your friend. You want to stay hydrated, you want to take your water breaks. The other thing is actually being aware of symptoms. So to really know what you're looking for, it's knowing the complications of sickle cell trait crisis, which is under extreme conditions of heat and exertion. So muscle cramping and muscle pain, and unusual symptoms like headache, blurry vision, and pain.
Would it be easy with those kinds of symptoms, and even the symptoms of heat stroke, would it be easy for someone to ignore that because they just think, well, I'm not used to the heat?
A lot of us actually push through a lot of the symptoms, and that's sort of something that culturally we've always been known to do, is just kind of suck it up and push through it. But it's important to actually recognize. And so it's really good to know who has the trait. It's important to know that if you have the trait, you should lead a normal life. It doesn't preclude you from any activities. But if you do have it, you should know, okay, hydration's important. Don't ignore the symptoms.
Is there anything that you can do or avoid eating? I mean, should student athletes, whether or not they are susceptible to having this trait, or even just student athletes in general who aren't, are there certain foods that they should avoid, during this hot weather, maybe before they go out and work out?
Well, more importantly is just general health. Sleep is important. Hydration is important. If you are sick for any reason, like have a viral illness, have a fever, you're actually more likely to get sick from the heat. So those are the things. And then some medicines that some people may take, like antihistamines for their allergies, they may set them up for heat-related injuries.
All right, that's a very good point. Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Peterkin joining us. And of course, if you'd like more information about keeping your student athletes safe, there's an event this weekend that can really help. It's the Injury Prevention Zone. It's coming to Rains High School this Saturday. You can find information on everything from nutrition to heat-related illnesses, even asthma. The event runs from 4 until 6, and it's free. And again, just a reminder, we will be doing something every day this week leading up to that event to help keep you and help your students stay healthy. Bruce?